Hey, what's up, everyone? This is Lucy here, joined once again by Cam Shay.
Hello, Lucy. How are you doing?
I am well, Cam. Now, we have had a bit of a break in between our Hearthstone 101 videos.
Quite a significant break, you might say.
Quite a significant break, but I'm really excited to get back into it.
Well, the plan was to come back. You've been off training, and you show me your skills. So how did that go, Lucy?
That went terribly, Cam. That went absolutely terribly. In fact, when I tried to download Hearthstone onto my MacBook, it just didn't work for some reason. And then with all of these sorts of things, I just gave up. So...
and to be fair, you've actually been working on a heap of other stuff in the meantime. So let's...
That is true. That is true. But no, look, I'm really, really excited to be jumping back in. And today we are going to be looking at an entirely different mode. We're going to be looking at the arena mode.
That is correct. And the reason we're going to look at arena is partly because... Yeah, this is a separate kind of standalone mode. It'll teach you different stuff about how Hearthstone works. And yeah, it's a pretty kind of integral mode to the game. It's not actually a mode that I play hardly at all. And there's a few reasons for that. Partly because I'm not that good at it. And part of the reason that I'm not that good at it is because it actually requires like quite different knowledge and skills and strategy than the constructed mode, which is what I generally play, where you craft a deck of 30 cards, and it's all really
You're
nicely...
all very familiar with.
Yeah, you've kind of balanced it as effectively as you can, and then you go and you face off against people, and you kind of have an idea based on their class, like what type of deck they might be running, and then you kind of try and predict what's going to happen, and so you're very much playing like mind games. Whereas in Arena, I mean, there's obviously a lot of rules about how people play it. But it's built on a foundation of randomness. So what that means is we've just entered the arena and we've got a choice of 3 classes. Now these have been randomly chosen out of the 9 classes total, and so we pick one of these, and then we're presented with a choice of 3 cards. You pick one of those, and you keep doing that until you have 30 cards in your deck. So we're going to go with Mage because you know Mage a little bit, and Mage is actually really strong in arena. So let's do that.
Okay, so you get to, like, basically this is how you sort of choose your deck, right?
That's correct, yep.
I've been trying to avoid saying that word. I don't know whether you've
deck.
Noticed that. I'm trying to avoid it.
Is it the New Zealand accent then?
Yeah, for anyone out there listening, I am from New Zealand, and I've been living in Australia a while, and you can't actually tell a lot of the time that I am actually Kiwi until I say the word deck.
There you have it. Yep, there you have it.
It's a terrible accent affliction.
Say deck and balls.
I'm not going to. All right, so you're presented with 3 cards, and you choose one. And how many? So you've got to pick 30 cards. Yeah. Okay, got it.
And another reason why it's a good kind of time for us to jump into arena in this kind of beginner's guide that we're doing. And by the way, if you've just joined in, this is the first video you're watching of us chatting about Hearthstone. I mean, this is very much like entry-level Hearthstone kind of...
It's Hearthstone for dummies, with me being the dummy.
So yeah, I know Hearthstone quite well. Not so great at Arena, but I know the game as a whole quite well, and Lucy's basically never played it before. So yeah, and so we're going to build out a deck, and as we get further and further through, we're going to try and make sure that we have kind of a good kind of curve in terms of... like mana curve in terms of the cards we have. So we've got lots of early game minions to play to establish board control, and then a few late game threats to kind of help finish it off. So Shade of Naxxramas is clearly the pick here. Fel Reaver's got a massive disadvantage, and Mountain Giant is contingent on you having lots of cards in your hand, which you're generally not going to.
What's Fel Reaver's massive?
Whenever your opponent plays a card, discard the top 3 cards of your deck.
Right, okay. So that basically
means
that
isn't it? It's a huge minion for the cost.
Yep.
But if your opponent has a bunch of low-cost spells in their hand, they can discard a lot of your cards. And honestly, Fel Reaver is actually a pretty good card in a lot of ways because it's very rare that you go through all 30 of your cards.
Yeah.
So the disadvantage doesn't necessarily have to be a disadvantage if you never get to the bottom of your deck. But Shade is just really good. So Shade has Stealth, and it's a 2/2, but it gains +1/+1 every turn. And so you can just kind of have it sitting there, and in Stealth it means your opponent can't attack it. It can kill it with AoE, but you can't directly attack it until you kind of unstealth it.
Cool.
So we'll go with Shade. All right.
So is the general rule of thumb for choosing a deck in arena mode, is it just to get a sort of a general sort of even amount
No, you want you want like okay, these days in Arena, from what I understand, I mean Arena to begin with is kind of more minion centric than
Okay.
the other, constructed. Um, but it's also a bit more aggressive since the launch of GVG.
Okay.
Because there's kind of really efficient, kind of low cost minions. And so you have to kind of really have a good, strong early game, or you're just not going to survive.
Cool.
So yeah, you definitely want lots of 2s, 3s, and 4s, and not that many like beyond that. So here, none of these are great, but Loot Hoarder will at least get us a card. So that's good. You want some card draw in your deck. Okay, Ice Lance is only valuable if you have other ways to freeze a minion, because it freezes a minion, but if the minion's already frozen, it deals 4 damage.
Okay.
So it can be quite effective, but it's more a constructed thing. Mirror Image can kind of stall a game because it summons 2 0/2 minions with Taunt, but honestly, like, it's not that great. Stone Splendor Trog is really good, actually. So
And he has the best artwork as well, in my opinion.
yeah, look at him.
Isn't he great?
He is. I love him.
Yeah.
Actually, I don't love him. I admire him.
You respect him.
So whenever your minion casts a spell, gain +1 attack. So that's really good because it's got really great base stats. So 2 attack, 3 health for 2 mana. That's really good.
Cool.
I mean, in general, I think with 2 drops, you kind of want 3 attack, 2 health. But this is fine. He's got a good perk. So I'll go with that. Okay. What do we got here? Darkscale Healer, another Ice Lance, Arcane Explosion.
Do you want a Dark Scale Healer? I mean, is a healing card even worthwhile in this game?
Yeah, you want some heals. I mean, it depends kind of on the class, right?
Yeah.
You definitely want some heals. But you just kind of need to think about the utility of the card in your deck as a whole. So the Mage, the hero power is the ability to kind of do 1 damage, right?
Yep.
So if you think about that and combine with Arcane Explosion, that means that you could take out a 2 health minion. Yeah, like it's kind of okay. I think we will go with Darkscale. We'll start fleshing out like slightly larger cards. I mean, it's not great stats for the cost, and you might not get anything out of that Restore 2 health battle cry. Although the friendly characters does include you, so that's a plus. Okay, Wisp is worthless. Tinkertown Technician
Wisp is really worthless. I mean, I can't even see one good thing.
No,
Yeah.
there are decks that play Wisps that can. It's a bit of a nothing card.
Right. Okay.
It's a wisp of a card.
Yeah.
Tinkertown Technician is solid, and if you have any mechs in your deck, then you can buff it up, and you get a spare part, which is a 1 mana spell that can be a bunch of different things, which we'll kind of get to later. But I think we're going to go with the Blood Friend Raptor here, because that's a good 2-drop. And by the way, I should just say, like, the decisions I'm making here, like, if you know Arena really well, you might be like, this guy's an idiot. He's got no idea what he's doing. But we're going to choose the best of our abilities, and then we're going to hop into some games and just see how it works out.
Exactly. And I think you sound very authoritative, so.
Well, as long as I'm fooling you, Lucy.
That's it. That's all that counts.
That works for me. Okay. Tauren Warrior has kind of poor stats for its cost, but it's definitely better than these other 2. So we'll go with that. Alright, so what we've got here is 2 secrets. So Duplicate. So if you activate Duplicate, that means that the next minion of yours that the enemy kills, you get 2 copies of it in your hand.
Yeah.
So it can be really, really powerful if you've got, if you can force them to kill a valuable minion, or kind of bluff them into thinking that it's a different secret. An Ice Barrier is essentially heal for 8. So, that's good too.
Heal for 8 is pretty good.
Yeah. Flame Cannon is also pretty strong. I'll leave it up to you, Lucy. What do you reckon?
I think we'll go with Ice Barrier.
Okay.
Because that is good.
Yeah, but it doesn't actually advance the board for us, That's the danger. It doesn't get rid of a minion. It doesn't potentially give us more minions.
It's just kind of on the defensive.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it could actually come back to bite us. But that's okay.
We'll see.
So we've got another secret here, Mirror Entity. When your opponent plays a minion, summon a copy of it. You know what? Let's just chuck another secret in.
Yeah, sounds good.
Why not? Because this way, like, you kind of leave your opponent guessing because there are a bunch of different secrets that it could potentially be.
So, and I apologize if you have said this before, but cards with secrets, what is a secret?
Okay, so Mage, Paladin, and Hunter all have a range of secrets.
Yep.
And it basically is you play it, and a question mark kind of appears above the avatar's
So you know that
profile.
they're playing a secret.
Yeah, so you know that your opponent has a secret,
Yeah.
but you don't know which one it is.
Got it.
So the idea is that you know the secrets that they are likely to be using, or that in that instance would make the most sense for them to play, and then you have to kind of test for the secret.
Got it.
So if a hunter plays a secret, and if you've got minions on the board and the hunter goes to great lengths to get them down to 2 health or less, but doesn't necessarily kill them, and then he plays a secret, you know that it's explosive trap because that deals 2 damage to all your minions.
Right.
Whereas like if the hunter leaves like you've got one single really big minion on the board and he plays a trap, it's probably more likely to be freezing trap because that will send that minion back to your hand if you try and attack with it. So you kind of start to get a feel for them. And when you first start in Hearthstone, you play against somebody who's using heaps of secrets. It's so confusing.
Yeah.
I
can only imagine.
But
I can only imagine.
All right, let's go with Tinkertown Technician because I think it's going to be best out of those 3.
Hey, so Cam, all of these cards that we're getting presented with now, are they just random cards out of the entirety of Hearthstone?
Yeah, and since GVG and Naxxramas came out, it means the pool of cards that are
massive
is much larger. So Arena's actually changed quite a bit since those expansions came out. And the other thing we should say is that in Constructed, you can only have 2 of a card in a deck, whereas in the Arena, you could potentially have 4 or 5. If the same card just randomly keeps popping up and you keep choosing it, you can have a whole bunch of them. I should also say that like it's a little similar to like opening card packs in that when you open a card pack, there's like a percentage chance for like a rare or an epic or a legendary card to turn up in that card pack. And it's kind of the same in Arena. Like most of the cards that you're choosing from are actually kind of commons.
Yeah.
And you're really lucky if you like you. And this is one of the reasons I don't love Arena is that you might just get really bad choices throughout your draft.
Yeah.
And then you'll
So
play,
there's
and you'll
it's
play
just
against
all luck.
somebody who might have like 3 legendaries in their deck and just have this absolutely killer deck. And there's not that much you can do about it. But I guess the art of it is
making the most of it.
Is making the most of it and still getting. So the aim of Arena overall, by the way, is to get to 12 wins.
Okay.
But if you lose 3 games, you're out.
Right.
So if you have bad choices, if you can still get to 9 wins or 10 wins, it's like you're doing awesome because it's just you're realistically not going to get past that point because you're going to be facing off against people who have just way better tools at their disposal than you do. Okay, so Goblin Sapper, Wild Pyro, Matter Bomber. So Matter Bomber is a real wild card, deals 6 damage randomly split between all other characters. So that can be your minions, your face, their minions, their face. We don't have many late game cards, but we're only early in the draft, so let's go with Wild Pyro, because that's a good 2-drop. Lord of the Arena is okay. 5 health is serviceable, and he's got Taunt, and Taunt's pretty valuable. Micro Machine is also a pretty good card, because it ramps up really quickly. Like, at the end of my turn, he gets 1 attack. At the end of my opponent's turn, he gets 1 attack. And on and on and on. So they basically have to silence it or kill it quickly or risk its attack getting out of control.
Yep.
But let's... Oh, man, I don't know. Let's just go with the early game. Let's just stick with it and hope we get big cards later. Okay, so this is why we probably shouldn't have chosen that heal secret, because Antique Healbot heals you for 8.
And is also
and is
kick-ass.
also... Well, no, it's not great, but it's at least it's a minion.
Yep.
And it's really our only choice here, because, I mean... we're not going to pick Ice Lances now because we have no other freeze and we don't have weapons.
Okay.
So we're going to go with Antique Healbot. Oh, excellent. Okay, Argent Commander is a really great card. Abomination is a really mixed blessing because when it dies, it deals 2 damage to all characters. So that means that if you have board control and you drop this and your opponent kills it, you're just going backwards. But Argent Commander has Charge and Divine Shield, which means that you can attack for 4 and hit an enemy minion and... he won't die because it just pops the Divine Shield.
Yep.
So Argent's great. Okay, Snowchugger is an excellent 2-drop. Burly Rockjaw Trog. Another looker, Lucy.
Yeah. I love him.
Yeah, he's like a must kill. If you can put him on the board and your opponent doesn't have any minions that he can kill it with.
Yep.
Well, it's a must kill.
Just because why is he a must kill? Just because
because whenever your opponent casts a spell, gain 2 attack. So
got it.
He can kind of.
I see.
Escalate.
So you got to kill him immediately, essentially.
Well, you want to either that or you just play minions.
Right.
And you leave him at 3 attack. So we've got no 4-drops. So Snowchugger's great because he can freeze enemy minions and enemy heroes. Duplicate could be really strong as well. But we don't have any 4-drops. And we're almost halfway through the draft. So we've got lots of 2s and 3s. So let's have a look. We got 3, 4, 5 2-drops. And then in terms of minions, we've got 3 3-drops.
Let's go with the sexy Burly Rockjaw Trog guy.
Okay, let's do that. Okay, Frost Elemental's pretty good. I mean, sometimes it can be good to have charge just as a finisher. But we need... Let's go...
We need a freezing guy.
The ability to freeze is pretty powerful.
See, I feel like I'm starting to get it.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I think we will have to go with the Mana Worm. Mana Worm pairs up. So whenever you cast a spell, gain 1 attack. So it's a pretty innocuous kind of looking minion.
Yep.
But then if you get it later in the game, you could potentially do it and then, cast one of your secrets to bump it up a little bit. But, I just think like we don't want to draft too many late game minions that aren't super strong. We've already got an Antique Heal bot, and the Fen Creeper is okay, but he's only got 3 attacks. So let's just go with Mana Worm.
Cool.
Because hopefully we'll get some more spells as well. All right, we definitely want Boulder Fist because that's really good value. So there we go. Okay, we're now in a position where I'm feeling like we're getting a bit too kind of end game heavy.
Right.
So
you want like a middle guy.
Pretty powerful, but yeah. But do we want to go with Raging Worgen? I mean, yeah, I think we do because we've only got like 3 drops at this point.
Yeah.
But then the ability to freeze is pretty good.
But then we already do have 1 Frost Elemental.
Yep. Yeah, let's just do that to kind of... Alright, awesome. We want a Fireball. That's really good. Snowchugger, also really good. But let's go with Fireball. Okay, so Nerubian Egg is only good if we have a way to activate it. Because it's a 0/2, so it can't actually attack or do anything until it's killed, and then you get a 4/4, which is really good value for 2 mana.
So that just... for those who have missed our previous episodes, a death rattle is, from my understanding, what happens when a card is destroyed or when it's beaten, when a minion's destroyed, and something happens, like a death rattle.
Like a death rattle,
like
exactly.
a death rattle, yeah.
So Nerubian Egg, you can use it with a Taunt Giver to force your opponent to attack it, or you can put it down when you think your opponent is going to play AoE to clear your board, and then that way he dies along with your other minions, but then you have a 4/4 sitting there. But we just don't have enough ways to activate it, so it's likely to be a dead card in our hands. So we don't want to play that. Unstable Portal is a really interesting card. It's a spell, add a random minion to your hand, and then that minion costs 3 less. But that minion could be like a terrible 1-drop, or it could be like an amazing legendary, and it's totally random.
Yep.
Emperor Cobra, destroying a minion damaged by this minion. So essentially, if you can attack with this guy, you can attack something really big and kill it. So I'm kind of inclined to just go with the 3-drop just to round out our 3-drops a little bit more, rather than relying on RNG. So what do you reckon? Do you want to roll the dice?
I don't know. I mean, I think
the other thing I should say also is that Hearthstone, a lot of the time Hearthstone's really about kind of tempo, and it's really about
it's like an orchestra. It's like an orchestral score.
It's about kind of trying to dictate, it's trying to control the board, and it's trying to be the one kind of leading and making the decisions and forcing your opponent on the back foot. And anytime you play something that doesn't, if you play a card like this and you don't get a minion that you can then play out of it, you risk kind of losing tempo, and then they can kind of get
Got it.
get
Yep.
ahead of you. And then the problem is in Arena, like once you get behind in the early game, it's really hard to come back.
Well, I think in that case, we should go with the Emperor Cobra.
Okay.
I don't want to be too risk averse.
Yeah,
But
yeah, I hear you. Okay, Clockwork Gnome is probably the best here. It's another 1-drop. We get a spare part when it's killed, which we could potentially use with Mana Worm. So let's just choose that. Okay, we card draw or random, 1 damage times 3 or polymorph. Polymorph's really good. So that can help us get rid of big threats.
Yep. I love the sheep spell.
Water Elemental we absolutely want. That's great. Alright.
So there's another freeze character.
Yeah. I think, we've got a couple of ways to freeze things now, but I just think there's too much of a risk of that not doing anything.
Yeah.
So I think we want to go Jungle Panther because that's got stealth, so you can kind of drop it and then they can't really do much about it most of the time. Then you can attack.
So that they can see.
They can see it's there.
It's there.
And if they cast a spell that does 2 damage as an area of effect, it'll kill it. But they can't directly attack it until you've done something with it.
Right. That's interesting.
So let's go with Jungle Panther. Okay, so 24 cards in now. So let's just take a look at where we're at. We've got 2 1-drops. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 2-drops. Oh man, I think we need more 2-drops actually. And then we've got...
And why do we need more 2-drops?
Because you just want to guarantee that in the early game you're going to have cards you can play.
Okay.
You don't want to get stuck with like bigger cards in your hand.
So you don't, because essentially you don't want to be playing your big cards in the early sort of...
Well, you can't. You don't have the mana to do it.
That's right, okay.
You can mulligan for those, but there's no guarantee you're going to get them. So I'm kind of feeling like if we can get... so what have we got late game? We've probably got just enough late game to sustain us. Yeah, man, I don't know. Like, the thing about Arena is that, like, as I said, I don't play it that much, but sometimes, like, I do a draft and I think that's awful, and then I do really well with it. And other times I do a draft and I'm like, oh, that's great. I got a good selection of cards here, and then I just crash and burn.
Well, so it's more like traditional sort of card games, right? Like, you're not assembling. It's the luck of the draw.
Well,
I mean, actually,
yeah,
that's a real generalization because there are so many different card games.
There's a huge amount of skill here, but yeah, I mean, luck is a bit of a factor. But I think me just not knowing Arena inside and out is the bigger factor.
Got it. So you need more like late game players.
So we definitely don't want to pick that 2-drop though. The Naruba, that's not great. Like its stats aren't good. I mean, it obviously has the minions with Battlecry cost 2 more, but that's likely to kind of well, actually, it might not hurt us that much. But then we've got the ability to kind of freeze, which could set us up to kill our opponent.
Yep.
And Venture has really great stats for the cost, but your minions cost 3 more. And what can happen is that if you're not on the verge of killing your opponent could theoretically just kind of leave it there and just kind of, put taunt minions up or whatever and just kind of take some damage and just prevent you from actually kind of efficiently playing out your minions on future turns because they cost so much more. So I think we're going to go with Cone and Cold. So we've got quite a few spells now. Spider Tank, awesome. Let's go with another 3-drop. I mean, Stranglethorn Tiger is really good too.
See, I would have gone with the Tiger just because those stats look really good, and he's got stealth, and he's got a badass picture.
Well, do you want to go with the Tiger? It's
No,
cool with me.
no, I trust your judgment.
No. Like we can do one more. We can do one more 5-drop. I mean, we don't have great 5-drops, so we could do one more 5-drop and then try and just get a couple of low-cost minions again.
Okay, let's do it.
All right, Tiger it is. All right, so this 2-drop summons a 1/1 Murloc Scout. So, that's okay. He's really weak though, susceptible to several classes' hero powers. But, Arcane Missile... I mean, Arcane Missile is a way to kind of bump up our Mana Worm, but we've only got one of those, so what are the odds of that? Magma Rager is terrible because it's only got 1 health, so it's just going to die instantly. So I think we want to just go with another 2-drop, honestly. Cool. Excellent. Yeti is great. We want the Yeti. Oh, good. Another 2-drop as well. Spells cost 1 less. That sounds about right to me. We've only got 1 card draw card at this point, but we're just going to kind of hope that we can kind of have a good kind of just control the board and just go through our mana curve steadily. So at the moment, the mana curve's not looking too bad.
No, I think it's looking pretty healthy.
So Sorcerer's Apprentice. Okay.
It's your last card, Cam.
All right.
That guy costs 12?
Yeah, but it costs 1 less for each card in your opponent's hand. But that's used for specific decks where you basically, they're called like mill decks.
Okay.
Where you basically just try and fill your opponent's hand. Because if you have more than 10 cards, if you have 10 cards in your hand, you draw another one, it burns up.
Yeah.
So the idea with those decks is that you just force your opponent to discard, to burn up cards, and you just chew through, you force them to chew through their deck until they run out of cards.
Right.
So we're not going to choose that. Echo of Medivh, put a copy of each friendly minion into your hand. So if we have board control, and if we had 3 or 4 minions on the board, we can cast that and get a copy of each of those minions, but it really is reliant on you being ahead.
Mm-hmm.
And Hanso Mechano, give your other minions Wind Fury, Taunt, or Divine Shield at random. Again, you need board control for that to be effective. So I'm not too sure what we should go for here. I mean, we kind of got a pretty okay early game, I think, now. I don't know. I'm kind of tempted just to go with Medivh because that kind of might function as card draw for us if we can copy a couple of minions. So we use one spell,
there is possible
get 2.
benefit.
So let's just do that. All right, man. I am so nervous because, as I said, like you can, like the first person you kind of face off against could have an awful deck, or they could just be amazing. I mean, and the way Arena works, by the way, is it kind of tries to match you up with people with a similar win-loss ratio.
Okay.
So if you've got 0 wins and 0 losses, you're going to get matched up against somebody with 0 and 0. But their deck could be anything. But then if you've got 0 wins and 2 losses, hopefully you'll face off against somebody who has a similarly crummy deck, and you might get a win. So yeah, let's call this video now and skip to a game for the next video.
Sounds good, Cam.
Cool. See ya.
Bye.